Hello, thank you all for coming. I'm Gabriel Gabaldon. He's enjoying. But we started this initiative because we felt that there was a need for a physical element for the watch group again. A couple of years ago, we had that. We had people coming out, putting up signs throughout the city, and we felt it was important to reestablish that. So this summer, I reached out with the current neighborhood watch group through social media, contacted them, and asked them how we can start this initiative. So they got me in contact with Tina Powers and Danny Bernal Jr. And so we've started meeting since then, and we've formed what we hope is a really good structure for a physical watch that we can join with social media element to really help to improve this community. So that's so I want to thank all of you for joining us. Just a little explanation on our agenda. So what we have envisioned for today is we're going to call the first portion of this meeting a neighborhood watch convention. So we're going to receive updates from community leaders, and then we're going to look to form a board based on the set of bylaws that we've created. So once we hear updates from our community leaders, we will look to form our board. We'll hold an election with those viewers that are present. We'll announce the results of that election, and then we'll adjourn the first portion of our convention. After that, we should have a quorum, so we're going to take a 15-minute break in between, and then we'll start the second portion of our agenda, which will be the first official meeting of the Board of Directors for the newly formed Neighborhood Watch. So again, thank you for being here, and we're going to start with some updates from our members of the City Council that are present. So whoever would like to come and speak first, Councilor Gallegos. And actually, before we start, I should recognize all the officials present. So Councilor Gallegos, who we'll hear from, Councilor Ortega, Council-elect Bernal, Chief Rodriguez, and Sergeant Rowland from the Lawrence County Sheriffs. Thank you all for being here. Cheers.
Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you. Good morning. Is this on? Yeah. I can tell from here, from out there you can. The sun is shining, the birds are singing out there, it's beautiful. Nothing's wrong with the town of Bethlehem, right? Right. That's like one of those deals you put out there. I was able to speak in front of the DA's people one time, and I started off like that. And of course the DA, that's what they were there for, to fight crime, and they're looking at me like, this guy's nuts with all the crime going on. But it's just to throw it out there. We wish it'd be like that, but we have to be for real. We got to take off those blinders that we use sometimes on this beautiful city that we love, and it's happening. I've been broken into a couple of times at my house. As business owners, you guys know what it is to have a mess at your place. I'm just reviewing and talking to the chief back there about what happened at Walmart a couple of weeks ago. Police presence at Walmart, and they were doing whatever they were doing. They attempted to catch him. There was a chase. Wow, right in front of the police, or 10 security guards, or 10 police, they're going to do it in front of us. And they being the criminal element that we have in this community. Before I should be always saying the criminal element is coming from Bernalillo County, not here in Valencia County. It's just so big, and they're so powerful over there with their police force. We're getting a lot of what's happening over there here. But you know what? Not all of it is that. It's our own neighbors, our own families, our own people that are doing this, and we know what the problem is. They're doing that for a need that they have in general. I'm glad that you guys are having this, Gabriel. I've talked to Gabriel in the past. We attended the one they had in Las Tunas. It was a meeting happening out there.
Yeah.
And the ideas that were being processed and thought out at the time. I remember when the neighborhood watch started in Belen. The important thing, the most important thing that I recognized with the neighborhood watch was the buy-in. You got to have a buy-in from your community. If you don't have a buy-in, we can have all our organization we want, and it's not going to work, guys. And that is what I hope, and I told you from the start, the existing neighborhood watch was very good. It needed some structure, is the way I thought. A little bit of structure, I think everybody will form, maybe messages, things like that can run a little better. I don't see a lot of those people here today. So that has me curious. I hope we can get the buy-in with the existing neighborhood watch and not end up with 2 neighborhood watches or whatever. Because there's been a lot of work that's already been done in the past. And there's people that have confidence on the people that are running it right now, right? So if you're out there and you're communicating social media or however you make these people, I think that's very important to try to keep that going. I'm happy to see new people get involved in what we're trying to do, but I really want to see it work together, and I think that's going to be the one challenge that, and we talked about this even a few months ago, you know. Other than that, the season is here, let's say it. The worst time of the year, crime is, up and things like that will happen. We always say Walmart. It could be Walgreens, it could be Bacchus, it could be anywhere, but Walmart is the buzzword for news to get something going or put it on the news. But it's all around us, all our neighborhoods. I've seen districts out on our map, and it's one community. The way I have to look at it, one big community out in that districts, hopefully that will help us. Other than that, I just hope this thing really works. And I'm willing to do whatever I can on my side. I know all of us as neighbors, personally, at our neighborhood, we talk so that we can really trust homeowners. And then you have the new ones that are renters. We're getting influenced with different people coming in. Before you know everybody, their families, who they were, and now you really don't. So that's the other thing. And we're not really, the signs are up there for Neighborhood Watch. We've had a few people wanting to be captains in our area. How that's we can get on the different, and we can get this thing going. The other thing, this place should be full. It should be full of people in here. Tired of them always saying us, the public saying how bad it is out here. There for a while they're stealing a truck. My son has a diesel. We had to make sure had triple locks and chain it up or whatever you could, because they were taking trucks left and right out of our community. This place should be full. The interest of the people sometimes, especially through social media, is just they just shoot from the hip. Their help, and we need people like you guys that are willing to step up, but it really hurts. They're the first ones to say how bad maybe the police department, the government, whatever it is, our own neighborhoods. I really get offended when they say how bad my neighborhood is or my town, because I really love this place, just like most of you here. We love our work, and just say, like I said, sun is shining and the birds are singing, because it's true. But man, it really means a lot to get organized, and hopefully we can do some good. Thank you, Gabriel, I know you guys have been working on this. Come on. And I read the draft. I think it's good. We need that buy-in from the different parts to make it work.
Definitely.
And don't give up, everybody that's in here. Let's not give up. Let's continue. And welcome, Danny. Danny, I know you worked on this along with Gabriel and different people. I should be announcing his names, but I really want this to work. Thank you. Okay? All right.
Thank you, Councilor Gallegos. Next, we'll ask Councilor Ortega to say a few words.
First of all, welcome. This is one of the things that the community is going to act. Let's go over there because I know you're going to come in and you're going to do a good job. Reality is going to hit everybody. Mr. Baca, you're up there in the Senate. Things to worry about is the budget. And right now, in public safety, we're spending, just for the police department alone, about $2.2 million. The other part of the budget is about $786,000 that goes to our fire department. We only have a $6.2 million budget in the city. From the rest of that $4 million, we got to make sure that the waters continue, the sewers continue, emptying the trash, we're trying to fix the roads, trying to do sidewalks, and a lot of the other things, the emergencies, water break. And what he does is he cries on that. He has a discipline. When he's out there, he doesn't know exactly what he's going to do. So Face Media is now giving him that information he needs. He knows where you're at. How many times have you gone on vacation and said, hey, I'm going on vacation, I'll be back in 2 weeks? They also now are computer smart. And they're starting to get smarter and smarter. And they know our resources are dwindling. I saw a newscast last night from Mayor Kelly's from Albuquerque, and they wanted to integrate all the networks now to start sharing information, which our chief came in and started to do that almost immediately. But he said it's going to take hundreds of more men and millions of more dollars. The criminal hears this already, so we're giving him something now to work on that, hey, these guys are short right now. Now's the time. Councilor Gallegos is correct. Tis the season. The closer you get to holidays, the closer you get to Christmas, stuff like this, there's desperation. Drugs play a big part in this too. See if you're going to get involved in that. None of us here can say that we're not vulnerable for any kind of. Sitting at Walmart yesterday, and the police chief has had saturated. They're putting in undercovers, they're still going. And his license plate was gone out of his popular car. They get similar cars to do that. These guys know what they're doing because if they see a similar plate, they don't think that they're going to get caught. But we can use Facebook too. When they have that shoplifter going out there and stuff, once we start doing that, we can start identifying. Once you identify, and that gives a tool to the police department, they can go out there. Criminal is dependent and fear. The fear part of it is I don't want to get in trouble. Somebody stutters. Can't do that. Even though there's fear involved with us, and it is, you got to be worried. But if you see something at your neighbor's house, or you see something down the street, or if you're walking, even if you're not sure, dispatch number that you can call. That's not an emergency, but they can come and check. They call it 1089 check. Come on down. That's what they're hoping for. That the fear and involvement that you won't. They'll see, and there's a red pickup out there. Somebody's kicking in the door. Oh no, somebody else's problem. It's not even somebody else's problem now, it's all our problem. We're all vulnerable. And that's, they're undermanned, and they're undergunned, and they're underfunded. The funny thing is that criminals don't have a budget. Their budget comes in what they break into your house. When they steal your wallets, when they steal your identity. Their budget is that. The more information, the more stuff they can steal, the more. And it's just not because they want to bring presents to the kids. It's because it's a drug thing. They have to feed their addiction. And this is one of the things that we have to do. We have police officers here, our chief is here, and they really want to work with everybody. I'm really hoping that this works out when people get involved in stuff. Councilor Gallegos, this place should be full. And I did talk to Mr. Gabaldon when we were in Las Lunas along with Councilor-elect Bernal, when we were out there in Las Lunas, and we got a big job ahead of us. And all of us have to be ready for whatever may happen. But without helping the police department, they're not going to be able to do their job. But if we get involved, the police department will have that much more soldiers to help them break that crime. And I'll bet you $1, within the next week they'll solve that crime over there at Walmart, where the guy shoplifted, ran away, his girlfriend got him in the red car, took off, and I'll bet you $1 right now, within the week, they're going to solve that, because they put it on Facebook to identify the people that were there. I'm happy that you're all here, and I wish everybody luck on this project. We have to work together in order to make a difference. If we don't do that, the criminal wins, and we can't let him win. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to ask Councilor-elect Danny Bernal Jr. to say a few words for us.
All right, good morning, everybody. It is kind of weird, this can't really hear yourself. But, so, welcome. First off, I want to thank Gabe and Tina for helping out with this. Trying to restructure this over about a year, I think somewhere around there. And our main goal is, of course, to establish the physical presence, because we need here in Belen, especially without our police force not being, as Councilor Ortega was saying, as well funded as it needs to be. So this originally started with that need. I believe Gabe was kind of wanting to just get involved with this community, and I believe that's what we kind of need for everyone in our community, is someone like Gabe who wants to get involved. So he contacted me and Tina. We contacted as many people to help pull resources together, and now we're here. And this is, and they'll tell others about who came. So to be able to get that outreach is the beginning of the Neighborhood Watch. And we'll be creating a new page, and Tina will kind of explain to you guys how that will work. And then later on, Gabe will come up with how this structure will keep us kind of moving forward. And no matter what, if I end up leaving, or Tina ends up leaving, or Gabe ends up leaving, or whoever is elected to the board of directors leaves, there will always be someone to take their place and lead the Neighborhood Watch, which is what we need. Because last time there were some circumstances in which the Neighborhood Watcher left, and it kind of all. So this is enough, and safe again in the Walmart, and you don't know what the heck's going to happen. You don't know if someone's going to harass you or any of that. Hopefully, where we don't always have to be looking behind our back. Maybe there will be someone in the neighborhood. I have to say, but thank you all, and thank you.
Okay, so I think I'd like to say a few words. So welcome, Chief Rodriguez.
Good morning. Yeah, one of the good things about it never being number one is you get to sit back there and write notes and all the things. Start off with this. Number one is you got to have community involvement. There are not enough officers on the streets to combat crime. There never will be. A law enforcement agency going to be. It has to be very supportive of any type of community effort, especially in community policing, to try to combat some of the issues that we're seeing here. And we're seeing issues here. You know, one of the biggest problems that we have is that something you can help. You know, Belen does not have the economy that Albuquerque has, you know, to have, 1,000 officers. And I tell you, we'd be fool if I was paying 25 to 30 bucks an hour. We wouldn't have a problem recruiting officers. And so when you're overshadowed by bigger cities and bigger economies, it's difficult. But at the same time, I live on the philosophy that I hire quality, not quantity. And we owe it to our citizens here in Belen to hire people that are going to, as they say, cut the mustard, not just hire just somebody just to hire. And so I will not hire, I will tell you right now, unfortunately, smaller communities like Belen have had a history for a long time of just hiring just to hire. And I think at the end of the day, you wind up regretting. And so it's my job as a chief to make sure that we don't put the city in any kind of liability. Like I said, by bigger cities. I mean, when Albuquerque went on their big hiring spree, they depleted law enforcement in the area. They attracted quality law enforcement officers from other agencies and sucked them all up. And whatever they had left, their other agencies picked up. And so we recognize that. But it doesn't mean that we can't find good people here locally. So what we've done here in Belen, if you guys are keeping up with the Belen County area, we're setting 2 more in the Spring Academy that are from the Valencia County area, because we want to invest here locally. We want people who are invested in the community, who will stay in the community. Like the I got is if they want to be here because they want to be here. I think that's important. So, in individuals with respect for the integrity and correction, I don't want people to be mistreated. I want people to be treated for a long time. But the best, and it just have to. In Valencia County, that's what it's got to be. One of the other things that we've, it's a multi-agency effort between the sheriff's office, state police, police department, what we call it, where we go out there and try to saturate the streets, what we saw about 2 weeks ago when state police was here. And that was a great effort. It was an awesome effort. But it was something that I'm telling you right now that it's not something that politics had nothing to do with it. I'll tell you that right now. It had absolutely nothing. It had to do with community involvement. The governor has an initiative which is getting those resources out to those smaller communities that don't have those resources and to come help us out. And I think it made a great impact. But I will tell you right now that if the criminal element thinks they can come to Valencia County and that we're not going to have law enforcement show up, they're sadly mistaken. Because we have people that show up here to shoplift in our stores and they're used to being in Albuquerque and they're going to get taken and walk out. Well, here they go to jail. Here they go to jail because we don't want our businesses to be victims. We want them to recognize that they come to Valencia County, Belen, that there are consequences. Those are some of the different things that we're doing on that end. I'll tell you right now, for not only our local, but our state help. Right now, it destroyed us. Voted for it. Mexicans voted for it. But it didn't even out to me. I think we all looked at it as the locking up the worst of the worst and increasing the worst of the worst. And so we need the legislature's help, and I had this conversation in a party forum. The sheriff were there. We discussed about this because it's hurting our communities. It's hurting our communities. It's tying our hands to our judges. It's just doing things that it's completely opposite. It's being counterproductive, and we've got to deal with it. And so for our legislators, we've got to. That's something. We've got to stop it. We've got to start creating laws that don't have involvement of law enforcement when they involve law enforcement. They got to have our input in it. You don't create laws when you're not enforcing the ones you already have. And so those are things that we need. So I really hope that there's a lot more conversation at the table at the state level with law enforcement because we really need it. And, what I want to touch on is, look, we all know crime will be out there, and it's out there for various reasons. One of the biggest reasons crime is out there is mental health and drug rehabilitation. There's a lot of drug issues out there, right? The problem is here, your first contact with any assistance is usually when the cops arrest you, and that should not be the case. We don't any resources for mental health. I can tell you that it's a county, we don't have very many, and if you do, it costs private insurance. So that's something we need to do also at the state level. And this is why I think it's so important for community outreach, because it takes our community to demand from our elected officials to do what we elected them to do, right? And it's to get out there, and not just here, because a lot of it is at the state level. Look, at the end of the day, our municipalities are funded by the state of New Mexico, and without the money coming from the top, deal with. And so that's very important. The last thing I want to talk about, the police aren't always doing anything, right? How come they just don't bust that neighbor across the street who's dealing dope? And how come they just don't go in there? I've already told them they're dealing dope, how come they don't do anything about it? Well, it's not that simple. In law enforcement, we have a very, if everybody knows the lady scales of justice liberty, that's what we are. We have to balance those scales. You just can't bust into somebody's home and say, hey, look, your neighbor said you're selling drugs. You know, we have to observe people. And I know people are, one of the big issues, and me and the sheriff talked about it just this last week on this, the guns. Everybody talks about gun control and about this. In law enforcement, holds a higher standard to the Fourth Amendment than the United States Supreme Court does. It's very important for people to understand that in law enforcement it's difficult for us because we're trying to do what we can, but we have to do it with the confines of not violate people's rights. Because at the end, take that. Excuse me. The city of Belen winds up paying him, $10,000 or $100,000 because I bought it. So we actually paid him for the drugs that we took out of his house. And people don't understand that. So I ask for patience because that's why I'm very supportive of a group like this, because it's an opportunity for us in law enforcement to educate people. To show them what it is. It's not the 45-minute show you see on NBC. You don't arrest a person and the drug results are in by the end of the show and, they're convicted by the end and we move on to next week's episode. It doesn't work like that. The criminal justice system is very difficult. There's a lot of moving parts to it. There's a lot of components to it. Everybody's hurting for resources. Everybody needs more money. It's tough. But at the end of the day, and I think I said this when we did our news release on the Walmart incident, we refuse to allow our communities to be overrun by criminals, by crime. We won't allow it. We won't allow it. And it's just, and when I say we, community, we have to stand together and we have to find community members that care about it. You know what I agree with Councilman-elect Bernal? That's 10 more people that know what's going on in Belen. And that's important. And then hopefully next meeting will be 15 or 20. Wherever the case may be. But it's a showing. And so we cannot do this. Now that it's important. To me it's important. Behind the keyboard on Facebook. You know what I mean? There's nothing worse for me in law enforcement when somebody reports a crime to me in an instant messenger message. I can't do nothing about it when I'm asleep at 2, 3 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? It's not. That's why it's important to have these conversations. So I just want to thank each and every one of you guys for being here, because I tell you right now, without this support, we cannot defeat the criminal element. And so we have to have it. So thank you very much for coming, guys.
Thank you, Chief Rodriguez. So next, we're going to ask Tina Powers to come up and give a presentation. Oh, there you are. Thank you, Tina.
Okay, so I'm the first person up here that doesn't speak publicly on a normal basis, so you're gonna have to bear with me. So my name is Tina Powers, and I have Neighborhood Watch in Belen since 2016. The very first meeting that we ever had was actually smaller than this one. It was about this size right here. A couple of counselors were there. I remember you were there, yes, and the police chief, and about 5 community members. That was in late 2016. A home invasion had happened with a lady named Tracy. It was one of her best friends. It was a horrible home invasion. and it inspired her to create an online group. The online group took off like wildfire, but the online group has limitations. So we set about at that very first meeting to start creating a physical group. And then I don't know how many of you were at the second meeting, but there was over 200 people at the second meeting. It grew like wildfire. So for quite a while, it went on pretty well. We had a physical presence at National Night Out. Block captains were getting their own groups going, which if you do get online and look at the block captain groups, there's quite a bit of individual neighborhood groups that are still going very strong. I'm actually was hoping a few more of the captains had shown up today, but we did have a hard time getting the word out. So I believe by the next meeting, we'll have more of those smaller neighborhoods and captains involved. As was already stated earlier, because a system like what we're trying to establish today with having a board was not set up, when the person who originally started it fell away, the physical part of it floated away, and it just fell to an online group. So Gabe had started saying, hey, I think we need to get the physical watch going again. He has a very strong physical watch group in the Gabaldon area. I have a very strong physical watch group in the DeSoto neighborhood. So the two of us were like, we got to get this going, but we didn't really know how to get it going. Danny agreed to come on and help us figure out how to form a board and get it going. So that's what we're here to do. I know most of you know that Neighborhood Watch is a national program. So as far as I know, this will be the first time that we're actually establishing a Belen chapter of the national program. And my part of that is I'm going to get the online too. You're at that very first meeting as well. I'm going to be here to help get the web presence going. I have about 3 months irons in the fire. I guess that's it. I guess that's really all I have to say. I would appreciate anybody that's interested in coming on to help me get the online presence going. I could definitely use some help as opposed to doing it by myself. So I am the block captain of the DeSoto neighborhood. You're going to see how the new districts are going to be laid out, and I will be running for one of the board positions. And I know it'll happen because I've been here before, and I saw how it grew, and I know it'll grow again. Community leadership, especially dealing with me. I'm a little scatterbrained, and they have learned how to deal with me, so thank you all.
Thank you, Tina, and I just want to mention, you've been awesome, so it's not dealing with you, it's been a pleasure. Next, we're going to ask Vanessa Alexander if she can come up and speak to us a little bit on some suggestions for talking with the dispatch.
Thank you. Hi guys, I'm Vanessa Alexander. I live off of Los Sanchez on Gabaldon Road. I was with dispatch here in Valencia County for a few years, and still very active, ancillary other things. My background is corrections, law enforcement, K-9, San Paul County Sheriff's Department, and then I was a state coordinator for Governor Richardson when my K-9 program was actually kicked up. We ended up in Maine. So what you guys are talking about is having somebody leave, and so my program unfortunately wasn't as picked up as well as it was when I left. So when I came back, I strongly considered starting it again, but I ended up down here in Valencia County, and my husband Josh, we've been together for 12 plus years now, and he's got 18 years now in corrections and private private security. He's currently a canine officer for private security in Albuquerque. So I'm here to talk about dispatch here in Valencia County specifically. VREC, VRECC, it's Valencia Regional Emergency Communication Center. So every time you guys call 911, someone here in Valencia County, 99% of the time is going to be answering that call. Obviously with cell phones and things, we have issues sometimes where 911 call will get picked up by state police or some other ancillary agency, but we always are able to connect that back. Dispatch itself is actually located here in the middle of Los Lunas. It's kind of behind the police department off of Don Pascal. The director is Shirley Valdez. She's been here. She was a director at 2 other communication centers. Got them set up and rolling, and that's what she started doing here in Valencia County now for quite a number of years. Obviously, the phone number for an emergency is 911. There are 2 non-emergency numbers for Valencia County Dispatch. The one I just kind of give everybody is 865-2039. And Valencia County, we have a lot of irons in the fire ourselves. I mean, there were times where it would be me and maybe one other person for a complete 12-hour shift. And I mean, we dispatch for 13 fire EMS departments, VCSO, Los Lunas, Belen PD. At that time, we had 2 different ambulances. So it's a couple dozen, you know, 2 of us answering phones and helping these guys on the radios and stuff. On LosLunasNewMexico.gov, so at LosLunasNM.gov, there's a little icon you can click to go to VREC's page. They have something called Alert Sense. It's an emergency notification service. That will actually give you notifications via phone, if you have a landline, text message, email, and social media. So that might be something that's very easy as an app, but if we have something like a kidnapping, major, you know, mass casualty incident on the interstates that's closing the roads, major road issues with weather or something, you might be able to get everybody here to take advantage of. Currently, VREC has about 29 employees. 23 of them are full-time, 6 part-time. We work 12-hour shifts, so typically it's from 6 a.m. till 6 at night, and 6 at night till 6 a.m. And that 12 hours, a lot can happen. Josh came in to visit me one time, and I had a 911 call, and it was literally a murder in progress. It was just crazy. I mean, it was one of the craziest calls I've ever had. And the 911 call I answered after that was an old lady that had fallen asleep. The TV was on in her living room, and she thought aliens were invading Las Lunas. So, I mean, you have the highest rush that you can get. Next 911 call. And I mean, we feel everything. Valencia County is a hopping little county, and Belen especially. I mean, just amazing. And it's everything you can imagine. I mean, aliens landing in Los Lunas, space jump in the sky. I mean, we've had murders happen on the phone with us. It's just crazy. You know, it's just amazing what happens in Valencia County. And as Gallego said, life goes on. You know, the sun is going to shine, the birds are going to sing. You know, we want to get out of that building alive. My thing when I was with dispatch was training my callers, and it's how to be a good caller. And this, especially for the neighborhood watch, is essential. Be a good calling, or I'm answering a 911 call, or even a non-emergency call. And I mean, I've actually had horrible calls come in on the non-emergency number. It's like, what? You know? But we all know the adage, who, what, where, when. The one thing we need, okay? Battery left on your cell phone, I need to know where you are. Okay, 911. Where are you? Okay, I'm at Gabaldon and Sanchez Road. Okay, then your phone drops. All I know is I got a 911 call. It was Sanchez and Gabaldon Road. I'm sending deputies out there. I don't know what it was. Okay, and I'm going to be trying to get a hold of you as soon as I can. But if you're not answering the phone, someone's going to come check on you. Okay, I promise you that. What? Okay, where are you and what is going on? Is this a car accident? Are you witnessing some type of violent event? Is this a theft? Is this a suspicious person? Okay, who, what, where, when, why? What's going on? Where are you? And of course, the who is completely, obviously related to the what. Are you the victim? Are you watching the offender? We need descriptors and direction of travel. That is those number 2 things right there. After where is descriptors and direction of travel. The information that I get from you is the information I give to them. All right? And if I'm sending my guys into a situation where it was just a suspicious person, okay, he just looked strange, and the guy turns out to be packing, you know, and decides he wants to do a suicide by cop, or he's just having a bad day and wants to get into a fight, I'm sending my guys into a hostile ambush. So I need my callers, you know, to be as quality as possible. We don't monitor Facebook. Okay, if you post something on Facebook, Sheriff Beagle's not going to see it. Chief Rodriguez isn't going to see it. You have to call. You have to call, and you have to give it to somebody in dispatch. That is our job. Our job is to take your calls, get your information, and then we decide where it needs to go. All right? Another great thing about being a good caller is don't be a victim. Okay? We talk about being smart. Okay? Be social media smart. When you go to the Lobos game and you're checking in, hey, I'm at the Lobos game, I guarantee you, this is exactly what's going on. Okay, people are looking. They will find you. They like your house. They like your stuff. They find out your name. They're going to friend you on Facebook. Okay, that's a lot. I know everybody here probably has Facebook. You've got friend requests from somebody that you already have, you know, are on your friends list. What is that about? It's a troll profile. It's called a clone. And it's how these guys get on your Facebooks, okay, and your children's Facebooks, by the way. The kids are the worst. Kids give up so much. Announcing your vacations is a no-no. Go home, make sure your kids do not have their dates of birth, and you don't have your dates of birth on your social media. All I need to steal your identity, and I can prove this, is your name and your date of birth. That is all I need. But I can show people how to open up credit cards. I can show them how we can start doing mortgage applications, all kinds of things with just a name and date of birth. It is scary. Do not feed the trolls your information. Be a good victim, don't be a good victim, okay? Lock your gates, your doors, hide your valuables, okay? Most thefts during the daytime are burglaries. A huge percentage of them actually are truant youths, okay? But we all know we have a very bad drug problem, and the pawn shops, you know, in other areas do quite well with your stuff that these guys are picking up and taking into the stores. Hide your valuables, okay? Most of these things are occurring because it's just a spur of the moment. They're walking through Walmart, and I do the same thing. I leave notes on purse out, hide your CDs, your cell phones need plugged. iPhone, okay, so that's worth $50 to somebody. To break a piece of glass, reach in there, grab it, and they're gone. It's an 8-second process max. Okay, hide your stuff. Okay, also with the kids, don't put stuff on the internet. Don't brag about your stuff. Be aware. This is a big thing. I did a lot of women's safety classes up in Sandoval County through my sheriff's department. I was a reserve deputy up there, and I would go with my sheriff and 2 of my other deputies, and we would do women's safety classes. Okay, and this is with kids especially now. Put your phones away. Okay, when you're walking out of the store and the sun's going down right now, 5 o'clock in the evening, okay, and you're walking towards your car and you're doing this, you have no idea who's coming up next to you or beside you. Okay, and if you got your purse right here and it's open, they can watch it and they grab it. People that have no idea what's going on because they're on their phone. I could take the entire contents out of your. Okay, so I'll admit that. You know, we're doing something on our phones, or we're texting something. We open the door to our car from the store, sit there, and the door is wide open, and we're going to balance our checkbook, or do something. Get in your car, close the door, and lock it. Period. Every single time. Okay? Do not be a victim. Don't make yourself a victim, but get yourself trained to do this. Get your to do this. 2 things that I'll close with. TV is not accurate. Okay? The chief brought that up. What we see on TV, when you call 911 and I'll describe one, see this. Screen here with all my radio channels, another computer screen right here, and one of my phones. We have all these radio channels, plus I've got a phone right here. Well, television, that's not how it is. It's mayhem sometimes. We have a lot of mayhem, but go onto a scene, these guys have to be able to get evidence. And what Chief was right. I hate it. You know, yeah, if you got information for what you think is a drug, that has to go through courts, through judges. Warrants have to be signed. Warrants have to be served. You know, search warrants, and it takes a long time. Surveillance, all this stuff. It's not something where someone just picks up the phone and calls dispatch, and then I'm going to run it over to the chief, and then the chief is going to activate SWAT, and then, you know, after the commercial break, they're all going to fly through the windows. That happens. So remember that. But do not get dissuaded from calling, okay, and give us information. That is our job as dispatch, okay, is to take information and to give it to our officers. And our officers want it, okay. What I'm going to close with is property isn't worth dying or taking a life over. I am a huge advocate of the Second Amendment. I think everybody should be trained on how to carry a weapon, how to handle a weapon, and you are allowed to defend. Nothing is worth dying over, and nothing is worth killing somebody else over. If it is a burglary in progress, it's your stuff, you can always get more stuff, okay? You do not take a weapon out unless you are to defend life. And a lot of people, especially here in Belen, we all have guns. We all have weapons. We carry them in our cars. It's just, you know, the life that we live with, okay? Road rage shootings are inexcusable. Pointing a gun at somebody because you're upset, absolutely inappropriate. That 911 call is going to come into me, and now I've got somebody with a weapon. And the things that kill my officers are traffic stops, domestic violence, and hidden guns, okay? And people have temper tantrums. Your stuff is not worth dying over, and it's not worth killing somebody over, okay? It's your shed, it's your lawnmower, who cares, whatever. The only thing that you should ever is that as a dispatcher and also as a human being, because those are horrible calls to get. But absolutely defend yourselves, stand up for yourselves, and remember, as community watch, we are the eyes, okay? The next step that you guys, when you call in, is to go through dispatch. And hopefully what I've just explained to you will help clarify some of the things that we do and what we need to give these guys the best information that they can get. Because they're the ones out in the field getting shot at. You know, I'm sitting in air-conditioned splendor, okay? But anyway, I'm on Facebook. Everybody pretty much knows me. I'm very quiet and shy. Any questions or anything where I can get you in touch with people at EREC, but definitely, you know, hope that more people will get involved in this, and we get the agencies and stuff the help and information they need, okay? Thank you.
That was great information, and we look forward to working with you in the future. So next, for comment, I know she's running around the entire county, so very, very active. So next we'll just get an update from the Sheriff's Department. And,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Finish.
oh,
Were you
okay,
done?
sure, be him.
Jump in the Good morning or afternoon. Thank you all for being here. We did just come from Osero, another community meeting like this. I think we had maybe 4 or 5 persons show up, but we had some people caring about you obtained from us, that you share that with your neighbors, with persons in your area that are unable to make it, so that we can get the message out that we are doing what we need to do for our communities. I walked in as the chief was speaking about working together and doing more collaborative efforts because of the lack of law enforcement and the lack of persons really wanting to do these jobs. So we have to take a step together and unify to make these things happen for our community. We're fortunate enough to have several law enforcement entities within our county that we're able to resolve as necessary with each other. And the best part of all of it is that we need to be professional adults and work together, whether we like each other's ideas or not. professionalism is paramount so that we can service the county in the manner that we're hired to do. So, great information from dispatch. Here, she gave a lot of good information, and it's really important for persons to know there is a process from the calls that you make to the dispatch center to transmitting it to our deputies. There's a process. There's like 5-10 those things occurring. So, you know, delayed responses I know has been a huge concern for citizens. It is a large county. Deputies are going from one end of the county to the other and doing so in a safe manner so they don't get reported that they're speeding. You know, we get it from all ends. So we ask, you know, patience in all of our law enforcement entities. We're doing the best we can with what we have. Our deputies are by no means are trying to break the laws or above the law by going 5-10 miles over the speed limit. You know, you really don't know what, there's criteria and policies they have to follow of when they use their lights and sirens, when they don't use their lights and sirens, school zones, etc. So when you see a deputy that excessive speeds, I want to hear about that. In general, I'm a little faster than the speed limit. There's a concern. We don't need to be doing excessive speeds, but just recognize that these deputies are trying to get to these calls in the timely manner so that they can assist the citizens that are requiring their presence. I could go on with a lot of those things, but I do want to introduce, I do have several members of the staff here today, and I'd like to introduce them and let them speak to you a little bit about what they do and what their site is, because they are the boots on the ground. I have Sergeant Roland here, and he has just been promoted to lieutenant in our division, so I'd like to introduce him and let you know who he is and speak a few words, and then we'll go on to the next. If you have any questions of us, please feel free to ask them.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Good morning. My name is Sergeant Belen. I'm with the Valencia County Sheriff's Office. It wasn't too long ago, I was the impact team. Impact team dealt a lot with this community neighborhood watches and how to for about 2 years. I'm very excited that you guys are trying to pull like kind of a regional thing together, because what I see is little pockets of neighbors who are just really fed up with the crime in their particular area. But it bleeds over to the whole county, so pulling everyone into one pool would be beneficial so that we're not getting different information from different sources and so forth. So I believe that's critical. A lot of the trends that I saw with the neighborhood watch groups was that Facebook, getting on Facebook. Some of our citizens in Rio communities a little bit older, they don't know how to manipulate the Facebook, so you exclude them when you go that route, so you'll have more than just the Facebook route. But Facebook is phenomenal. Currently, I monitor all the neighborhood watch programs within Valencia County via Facebook on my phone. Now, that's not a reporting system. However, I like to keep informed of what areas, because it all bleeds over. From Los Lunas, suspicious vehicles, the neighborhood watch will take a picture of it. It's worth a lot to that same car is doing burglaries up in Los Lunas, is doing burglaries, and stop the crime when that happens on Facebook, scouting out an area they're trying to do, and it clicks, and we already know who those people are. For the vast majority of the offenders within Valencia, we dealt with them time and time again. Video and photos are so important for us to be able to identify people. In today's day and age, I really like to push those Ring doorbells or any kind of technology of your offender. The vast majority of the time, we're able to identify them. That's important. With our neighborhood watch groups, If you're going to be serious about it, there is a serious tactic that you can take. If you have a repeat offender that lives within your community and you already know he's a career criminal, your neighborhood watch needs to start tracking that gentleman. So what you could do, which is a tactic that I think is successful, is monitor that person on NewMexicoCourts.gov, nmcourts.gov. If you know somebody in your area that's doing crimes, you can then look up all the times they've ever been arrested or had court appearances in the state of New Mexico. And to the general public, New Mexico's great with offender in your neighborhood. Then you can start finding out on NewMexicoCourts.gov when they have court hearings. And as a neighborhood watch, it'd be really great if you had a victim outreach, and when one of your persons in the neighborhood watch is victimized, start showing up as a group to their court hearing appearances and let the court and the district attorneys know this person is really hurting your community. And I've seen success in the courts. The problem in the courts is they have such a high volume and victims don't show, sometimes officers don't show for conflicts, that when the victims do show, or the judges are more apt to show up. And a lot of times victims don't show up, all right? There's been some cases here in the county with repeat offenders. Citizens showed up for it. The judges then still released those folks, and then they showed up on the news, and then the next time they caught them, they were in jail for 6 months, whereas otherwise they'd be out in a week. So that NewMexicoCourts.gov, having a victim outreach program so that you can send folks from the neighborhood watch out to a victim, let them know you're there for support. It's really hard to be a victim or a witness, because one of the council members mentioned people are afraid of retaliation. They're scared. And I see that a lot. Sometimes they'll report it, but then they what they saw. They don't want to become victims themselves. So being active in that whole program, having a victim outreach might help give those victims and witnesses some support so that they can show up and help the process work correctly. I feel that that's very important. On top of all of that, hold on, sorry, I have a note. Oh, there is Raids Online. If nobody's ever heard of Raids Online, it's a program that you can look up all the police reports within your generalized area. You set the parameters of it, how long you want to look back. You can do a geographical area of half a mile, 10 miles. You can depict which crimes you want to see, which has occurred. It's not immediately up to date. It takes a little while for those reports to get on there, but if you were concerned with what types of crimes are happening in your community, you can go on Raids Online, and it's going to pull up all those locations where burglaries or violent crimes are occurring, just to give you a better understanding as a neighborhood watch. What are we looking at? What's mostly happening in our community, so that you can get a good idea of how you want to combat that. The last thing I wanted to mention was you have to hold your public leaders accountable. So there's 4 steps in the criminal process if you're fed up with that you're going to have to be aware of. First step is your law enforcement agency. You have to hold us accountable for us to do our jobs. You know, we're responsible for going out there, responding, and when we don't do that, certainly let us know. If you're doing a good job, we'd like to hear about that too. But hold us accountable for what it is we're supposed to do. The next step is the district attorney's office. Get involved. Find out what the DEA is doing when these cases go to court. If the district attorney's office makes a decision you don't know why that is. The third is the judicial process. The judges. The rule in favor, which is against crime, right? If the judges don't do that. And the fourth step is the legislator. The laws which dictate what the judges, the district attorneys, process. I know that the citizens are kind of fed up with this revolving door immediately released. One of generally all 4 of them combined, it's broken. We need to pull it. The community has to tell us and step up that what we're doing is wrong to get it fixed. And it's at all 4 of those, right, that you have to hold accountable to. So I really appreciate everybody being here today, getting involved in it, and if there's there's anything that the sheriff's office can do or I can do for you, please let us know. Thank you.
I did miss something. So in the past, Gabe has invited me to several of these that he's coordinated, and so has the other watch groups. And what Sergeant Rowland said is getting under one roof. We've done that. We did it at the Los Angeles Auditorium, and just like law enforcement has to get together to bigger numbers, a greater effect, you also have to do that. Because when the criminals, if you don't think that criminals are on our watch pages, they are. There's not a lot of them. I know you guys do the best you can to monitor those and not have those persons in there, but I can tell you that there's a slight percentage that are on there that are monitoring, or have a family member that unknowingly talks about what's on the watch page, and it gets out there. So my suggestion for all of you that are have watch groups, creating them, get with your other moderators, your admins, and when we organize as law enforcement, we did at the auditorium, show up. The council, Belen Council has, Los Angeles has been there, we've been there. We encourage you just to the Los Angeles area, so that we can all sit together and discuss the same issues that we deal with in one county. We all live in one county. Having multiple little meetings, we don't mind doing that. We will do whatever we can to get persons better informed, and I get that there's some people that don't want to drive from one end to the other, and so, you know, we'd like to navigate every 2 months as law enforcement and go into each community and talk to everybody. But when we do have those larger community-based events, encourage your communities to come out and I said before, it's easy for someone to want to sit on their couch and Facebook because they're at home, they're in their, and why do I need to come out here? Because I can do this on Facebook. Well, if the and us politically correct, we can't just really come out there and explain a Facebook page or a post. This is a more conversation that we can have with you and explain processes, just as Sergeant Roll. We've got to do better in advertisement, getting people out here. Where do they utilize for them? Let's figure that out. I know you had one at the park that was wonderful. It was do that here is comfortable, but yet, you know, there is a lot of empty seats. So, and you know, in your path, go out when you talk to your members, encourage them to come out and do these things. Meaningful. So, I'm going to take up all of this time, but I'd like to. He is. I'll let him explain what he does and who he is, and then understand.
You want to have him come up first? So please bear with because I'm a horrible public.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's working very well, but.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm Deputy Pearson with the Sheriff's Office. I currently work on a community response impact team. The impact team when he came up. I currently have a supervisor, and it's just him and I. What we do is I heard everyone's concerns about drug activity in the area, everywhere, to include Los Angeles, you know, in Belen. That's what I investigate, is drug activity and property crimes. Before I get started with just the inside of what I do, I please be patient with the process. I know a lot of individuals that came up and had mentioned these things don't, you know, these problems don't get solved overnight. Crime is always going to be there. Unfortunately, what we can do is we can put a dent in it. the drug activity that's happening in this area, I'm not from here. I'm originally from Akron, Ohio. I moved out here, and working in the community, I have noticed, especially being on patrol and now being in the position I'm in now, I've noticed there is a lot of drug activity in the area, and that's always going to be there. What I'm here to do is do my best to put a dent in that, deter them, get them out of the county. That the activity is always going to be here, but what we can do and what I need your guys' help as the watch group is any type of suspicious activity. She had mentioned that there's a non-emergency number you guys can contact and say, hey, this doesn't look right. Whatever activity that doesn't appear to be normal to you, you guys can always contact us, and we'll be out there to do our investigative portion. I also monitor the other community watch pages, and I do notice, not that it's anybody in here, and if it is you in here, I do apologize, but there's a lot of negative reaction, like law enforcement isn't out here. Information that you guys are getting to us and we're getting out there, but just because we're not seen out there doesn't mean we're not out there. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't drive around in a marked unit anymore, okay? Just as an example of what I do. The reason why I say please be patient with this process, especially as far as drug activity, because the sheriff and the undersheriff put me in this position as far as drug investigations. What that means is a little bit beyond what patrol may run into, small here, small here. I'm looking on a bigger scale to get rid of or move that particular house or houses in your community to go somewhere else. Okay, shut them down, get those individuals who are selling or supplying, or those guys accountable in court. That's where we have to come in and make sure that we're in court. But also, like Sergeant Rowland said, if you guys know that individual is a problem and they get busted for some big drug, whatever, it also at that court hearing. You guys can, monitor that on nextcourts.gov and see this individual that's always been a problem to you guys in the community. We know that this person is a problem, but you guys have seen, like they've said before me, this revolving door. The same person's been busted for all kind of things, auto theft, drug, whatever the property crime or drug activity or whatever crime it is, that they go in and they come right back out. We're not going to say that's always going to be our fault on our end or above, but we do what we can to write a decent report to detail what we ran into, and then you guys are usually the individuals that tell us, hey, this person was the one that's dealing at this house. You guys are the ones that put us onto that. You guys find out that those individuals are in jail, mostly because a lot of you guys post those individuals, their face, their mugshots on your guys' community watch page. Well, now you guys get to monitor, when their court hearings are. If you can, it would be easier for us and to show the judge also that this person is legitimately a problem in your guys' area. So I'm here to help with that on these drug investigations, and again, please be patient with the process. They usually take, as far as the investigative standpoint, a very long time, okay? That doesn't mean that we're not out there. Just because you guys don't see a marked unit again doesn't mean we're not out there. If you guys happen to have any questions or a little bit more in depth on what I do, you can always give me a call, or I'm going to leave a stack of cards with the number for the office, and I'll also put my work number, which is what I usually use when people call about some type of drug house or property crimes that are happening in the area. Okay, please leave us informed just like we would inform you guys, okay? Thank you for your time.
Undersheriff, did you have anything that you might want to add?
Sure, I'll keep it short.
So much today.
Thank you, Undersheriff.
My name is Mark Kamatz. I'm the Undersheriff for the Valencia County Sheriff's Office. I guess first we'll start with what does that mean? I think my job is everything else. So I have people that we have lieutenants supervise the Criminal Investigations Division and the Court Services Division. We have lieutenant over the Patrol Division. We have supervisors for the Community Response Impact Team. We have all these other people in place. So I guess the best way to describe my job is just everything else. I'm also the guy that if you're not getting the answers you need, that you have a problem with an investigation, with a deputy, and you're not getting the answers you need, and you talk to the sergeant, and you still feel like your problem wasn't addressed, and you talk to the lieutenant, you still don't feel like your problem's getting addressed, I'm the guy that wants to hear about it. I'm the one to call. A lot of times it's just us sitting and having a conversation about what we can and can't do, how these investigations are actually handled, that there's sometimes a disconnect between what the public perceives an investigation should be and how it should take its course, and what we can actually do. And I'm willing to sit down and have those conversations. So if you don't feel like you're getting the answers you need, I'm the one to call. My office number is usually the easiest. It's 866-2404. So don't hesitate to give me a call. The last thing I wanted to mention kind of piggybacks off of what Vanessa was saying. We're getting into that time of year. Okay, the holidays are coming. And with it comes a lot of property crimes. Some of the things that are holiday specific that can help you keep from being victims. Once upon a time it was safe to put your Christmas tree in the front window, put all your presents around, and share Christmas with everybody. And everybody comes by, look how gorgeous that tree is, what a wonderful tree, they did a great job. That also allows bad guys to look in your window and say, wow, they did a good job, look at all the presents. And now they want to come take your presents and have their own Christmas, and it's always a great surprise because they have no idea what they just gave themselves because you wrapped up all the pretty boxes. It goes with cars too. If you're out Christmas shopping and you have to go into a restaurant, another store, put them in the trunk, put a jacket over it, something like that. Don't let them just look in and see all your Christmas presents. Final note on that is right after Christmas. Everybody wants to do their part. Recycling is a big thing. Everybody wants to recycle. A lot of communities offer free pickup for recyclable items. Don't advertise that you've just got a 55-inch television and 2 iPads and a brand new laptop computer and say, I'm going to do my part in recycling. I'm going to take all these boxes and I'm going to put them out on the curb so they can be picked up. Because now everybody that drives by knows what a cool Christmas you had and they're going to want to come take it. So don't advertise those things. Make yourself a little harder victim. I'll just end with thank you for being here. It has to start somewhere. Start with 6, start with 10 people, and just let it grow from there. And we'll be here to support you as it grows.
Thank you so much. And I just want to again thank both of our police departments for being out here. Thank you, Sheriff Gabriel, for coming out. And that was really great information. And we look forward to working with all of you. So next on our agenda, we're going to move on to item 3. So I'm just going to do a brief presentation of what we have put together as far as the structure of the organization. I do know we've gone a little long, so I'll try to get through it quickly, and then we can move on to our elections and forming our board of directors. And just for those of you that are here, I want to apologize. We are live streaming, so I'm actually going to just read the slides for everyone that's watching online. Okay, so again, a vibrant neighborhood watch is a great way to transform our neighborhoods into safer, more tightly knit communities. We want to work together and try to make Belen a better place in Valencia County. So why have we proposed having a physical watch? We want to establish a door-to-door presence. So a physical watch is available to the entire community to interact and participate in, instead of exclusively being available to individuals with social media accounts. We want to work closely with our local law enforcement, that's essential. Law enforcement can send an officer to speak during neighborhood watch, such as today. An officer can give tips on how to recognize crime and how to make the best use of our neighborhood watch resources. Is probably the primary element of a neighborhood watch. So during meetings, we can talk about those things. Law enforcement. So we bring all those elements together and we can have discussions. Developing a communication plan is essential. How we get the information out to the community, as well as law enforcement is an essential part. physical neighborhood watch. And then we want to establish the structure so that we can keep it going, so that if, you know, if I happen to leave or someone else from the current board of directors once we form, that's not going to have an impact on the watch. It's not just going to go away and we'll be left in limbo. So establishing structure is key to that. So here's what we proposed. Our objectives are to encourage neighborhood involvement and participation towards the goal of crime prevention. These are all included in our bylaws. These are the organizational objectives that we've identified so far. We can always amend these and add to them. But the second is to encourage the growth and development of neighborhood watch program within neighborhoods of the greater Belen area. So that's not just specifically city regions. We want to include all regions in Belen as well. So I know Gabaldon Road is kind of odd. I'm just speaking out of knowledge since I live there, and it's kind of split. Half is in the city, the northern portion is in the county, but we have some very great, as Vanessa's indicative of, we have some very active members in that county portion of the roads. We'd like to also bring them into the fold with us as well. So it's not exclusive to the municipal area of Belen. That's how we're proposing this. And then we want to work closely with the city of Belen in this. And then also for any organization, it's essential to provide fundraising and financial support to accomplish all of these goals. I touched on this a little bit, but the membership shall consist of any Belen resident. Those in unincorporated areas can petition to join the watch. I know another good example where the southern portion is part of the municipal district, but most of that northern portion of the road is. So we would like to reach out to them as well and bring them into our watch. So there's no dues. We're not. This is purely for the betterment of our community. So there's no dues. If you want to contribute to fundraising, please, we can always use the funding, but we're not going to charge someone to be a member of the Neighborhood Watch Group. And then all funds will be maintained in a bank account by a board of directors. One of the board directors we're going to elect as the treasurer, and they're going to maintain those funds. So we'll have an accounting process. I've mentioned board members a few times, but the number of board members shall be 7. We've identified 4 district captains. We've split the city, the municipal city, into 4 areas. I think those of you that are here physically, when you came in, you saw the map of the city limits that we've proposed. We divided everything into 4 as evenly as we could, 4 areas. So we're going to elect a district captain of each of those areas. Those captains are going to be in charge of working with the individual neighborhood block captains and organizing those within the proposed structure from the top down. Also, with those 4 captains, we're going to reserve one of the district or one of the board member positions for a member of the Belen Police Department. So Chief Rodriguez or one of his appointees will always be included as a member of the Neighborhood Watch. And then we will have an enrolled student member representative from Belen High School. So they can be, a junior or senior. We felt it was really important to ensure that we involved our youth in this structure as well. Real quick, I just want to, we have our representative here, Eli Baca, who's going to be our youth outreach candidate. So I just want to thank him for being here. Also, we're going to propose that we include a member from the local business. So the business community here in Belen. Councilor-elect Robert Noblin has volunteered to run for that position, so we want to also make sure we're reaching out to local businesses and hearing from them as well, and giving them a voice within this board of directors. Once we've established that, and we're doing that today, the members of the board are going to elect a chairperson, a vice chairperson, secretary, and treasurer. So we'll have those 4 officer positions within the board of directors. The board members are not going to be paid. It's completely voluntary. But if they are acting on behalf of the organization, say they were to go out to some kind of event and that they had to utilize their money, they can petition to be reimbursed. So that'll be a financial construct of the organization. So we propose to have 2-year term for each member. So we'll have another election convention 2 years from now. So 2 Novembers from now. And that'll be for every position other than the police representative. That'll just be included. And that's at the discretion of the Belen chief of police. And we also, in the bylaws, we provided for the creation of subcommittees. So some of the subcommittees that we have proposed now are community outreach, and then a budgetary finance fundraising subcommittee. We're going to talk about that in the next portion of the meeting, but hearing from the Sheriff's Department, I think we can add a 3rd subcommittee to that, and that would be victim outreach, which I was listening to. I thought that was a great idea, and I'd like to incorporate that as one of our committees within the board, so we can do that. And then the board of directors are going to meet about 4 times a year, so once a quarter. We want to have these regular meetings so that we're coordinating amongst ourselves how we can improve membership, improve outreach, those kind of things. So it's important that we do hold ourselves to a requirement that we at minimum meet 4 times a year, and probably more often than that. But that can be at the discretion of whoever's elected as chairperson of the board of directors. So that's just a brief structure, presentation on the structure. So we are going to move to item 4 for our agenda. Those of you watching online, item 4 is the election of our inaugural board of directors. Did we give out ballots to everyone?
Everyone should have a ballot. If you don't have a ballot, let me know. Raise your hand.
Okay, so if anyone needs a ballot, my wife Jocelyn has them in the back. Just make sure that you fill out whatever district you happen